Hey there, I'm Craig. I'm the producer and behind the curtain editor for the Mick and Pat show. Do me a favor and leave a review just so we have an idea of how well we are doing. And if you share the podcast, Mick has promised to take me go-karting. All right, till next time, Ken.
Thanks, Craig. And that is right. That is right. If you just listen to the pre-recorded dialogue that Craig did for us, I will take Craig go-karting if we get some more shares and grow our listenership here. I'm not even going to put a number on it, Pat. I'm just going to say if one person shows proof that they shared the podcast with a family member or a friend, I'm going to do it, man. I'll take Craig go-karting. And you know what? I'll take a picture of Craig and I out at the go-karts, man.
I think that'd be great because we're about quality over quantity here. We want those quality listeners.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah. Honestly, if you're not willing to share this podcast with somebody in your life, anybody, I'm not even talking about close family, close friends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the people who you care about their opinions. I'm just saying, if you're not even willing to share this to the person sitting next to you at the bus stop, if you're not willing to just whisper over to the person in front of you at the movie theaters and just be like, hey, have you ever watched the Mick and Pat show?
Mm-hmm.
You ever listen to it? Do you like podcasts about nothing? If you're not willing to do that, you're not kidding. You're done.
You're not kidding.
And you know what? For every one of our listeners that are like that, I'm going to make Craig spend one more day down in the well putting lotion on.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think you've seen this. Hey, Craig, listen, I know you're excited about going to go-karting and all, but I need my background music. That's all I know.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Craig, hit that up. By the way,
mm-hmm.
I think we should probably put this as as our bumpers now,
mm-hmm.
but just sponsoring White Bat Audio.
Oh, yeah.
Just because he makes good music. His actual artist name is Carl Casey. If you need royalty-free music, again, he's not paying us for this. I purchased his music. I purchased his discography for the show. If you need royalty-free music and you love the synth, nostalgic, retro wave vibes, stuff like the music to the Terminator 2 or music to, I would say, like classic bank robber movies like Heat, or even like the scary, spooky horror movies of the 90s like Scream, check out White Bat Audio. He makes great stuff, and he's got a wide plethora of music that doesn't sound like, I'll be honest, most royalty free stuff is garbage. Like it just doesn't sound good. It sounds
There's something
elevator.
There's something in there also that always seems like European synth club beat in the background, even if it's an acoustic over thing, because it's all coming out of like Sweden or something. They just don't. They're just not quite getting what we need.
Yeah.
Just not quite getting what we need. And I could see myself, like tossing a pizza.
Wait, hold on. Craig said the music's on. I think our channel is quiet. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Hey, maybe we should apologize, Craig, because I think he was signaling us that it was on for a minute there.
So I have an operator error.
Yeah.
But, I could see myself working for a pizza shop at midnight. Just, hand tossing dough to this.
Oh, yeah. Dude, thinking about your high school crush?
Yeah. I think that it'll help you pass the time.
Yeah.
I could see myself.
That neon, like, Domino's light just glowing on you as you sit on the hood of your Geo Tracker smoking a cigarette with an apron on.
Yeah. I could see myself rollerblading in circles. In concentric circles, around
City.
and around and around. Yeah, to this.
Hoping for a chance that she's going to like start skating backwards up next to you and making conversation. Yeah. And then she takes your hand to skate dance.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you don't really count it as holding hands, but you're like, dude, I'm holding her hand right now and I'm in middle school.
Yeah. It's a life-changing event for a young 13-year-old boy holding a hand. And I could see myself, maybe child number 3, needs to be, created during some White Pat.
I was really wondering, like, what's child number 3? Where's this going, Pat?
Hey, White Pat could, set the mood for some of that.
White Pat, I'm going to say it right now, some of the tracks I've listened to 100% are geared towards, like, the Miami Vice romance scene.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like the the sweaty box fans on, wall mounted AC unit blowing, and we just got the light pollution of Miami coming through the window, the blinds.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely some of his music is for that vibe. I often hear this music and I think about San Diego. And I think particularly about this bridge in San Diego that's going over the bay in one spot.
Coronado Bridge.
Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. It's not really a bridge, though. It's like a giant curving highway.
Yeah.
Because there's no, like, cables and spires, you know?
Right.
But, like, going over that highway that highway has streetlights.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. Like, you're going over that in the water and you got San Diego all around you.
And Charlie Sheen's riding in the back.
Yeah.
Sitting, not in his seat, but up in the back of the Jeep.
And Ryan Gosling is, like, got his arm on, like...
Around you.
Around me. I was going to say... Yeah, it is around me. And I'm actually not driving. I'm just, like, leaning on his shoulder, letting the wind blow my hair. Oh man, hey, if any of our Kenner out there can make it happen, love to have Gosling on the show. Always been a big fan of his. No, but what I was gonna say is, like, you know, he's got his arm on the door where the windows roll down, and then his other hands just kind of on the middle console, and then he, like, looks over and, like, tussles your hair like a little brother.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, just, we're out having fun, man. We're out being young.
Like, the night is young.
Yeah, that's really what this music gives. Is young life. Energy. This gives me life, you know?
Yeah. Makes you feel youthful.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's great stuff.
Anyways, Carl Casey, White Bat Audio, thank you so much, sir, for making content that, one, is so good, I wanted to buy it, and two, is royalty-free, so we can play it on our show. Yeah. Real life shout out to Lo-Fi Girl. Lo-Fi Girl YouTube channel. Everything's royalty-free there. They've gone out of their way to make sure that you have the proper permissions to use it on a Twitch stream and as background music, whatever it is. Just make sure to give credit. And we did use Lo-Fi Girl for quite a few episodes before we switched over to White Bat Audio. So just want to make sure people are aware of that. Now, rolling into this episode of the Mick and Pat Show. Pat, how you doing, man? How's the week been? How's the things been going? I know we've had, I don't know if we've had eventful weeks, but I feel like there's been eventful weeks.
Yeah, I think that we had a little 3-year-old's birthday party, little birthday party weekend.
Nice.
Right now we're recording this at today is my first son's 3rd birthday, and we spent the weekend doing some cowboy themed partying.
That's so badass.
It was really fun.
Does he have a cap gun yet?
He's still a little young.
Yeah.
I'm kind of...
You're 100% right. I didn't have a cap gun until I was like 8 or 9.
Right. And here it's funny, like, I'm excited to get him into all that stuff, but I kind of want to let the nature versus nurture take its course.
Yeah.
Just to prove that when you hand a little boy a stick,
it becomes
into a gun.
Yeah.
You know, and so and there's certain things where, like, yes, I love talking about guns. I own guns, and I think that I'm, like, going to educate my kid around guns.
But you wanted to kind of be his own interest.
But I want to be his own interest, and I think of even, like, my own upbringing, maybe not like not the way I was raised, but, like, I think of, like, back to, like, the, like, not sexualization, that's the wrong word, of guns, but, like,
I don't know. I don't know if it is wrong. But, bro, like, I will never forget when I saw a, like, die cast metal cap gun.
Oh yeah.
And it was at a garage sale. And Indeed. I remember just looking at it like it just was not a natural shape. Like, I just remember being so confused by every curve and geometrical, like, angle, and just seeing the way that thing floated. And, like, how freaking, like, can you remember the first time you saw a revolver as a kid and, like, the hammer looks so weird. It looks like the Wang of Florida coming off the back of a revolver. And I just remember seeing that and I was like, I have to touch that.
Oh yeah.
You know, I have to touch it.
It's like a moth to the flame.
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt. No doubt.
And my mom was not a gun lady. You know, I mean, she's not anti-gun.
Right.
But there was never like here's what guns are and firearm safety before I like naturally discovered them in like TV shows or movies or toys.
Yeah, like my parents never bought me guns and stuff. Like they might have got like a few airsoft guns from me down the line or whatever, but like early on. But so with my kid, 3 years old, I'm kind of just letting him do his thing. And so I was like, I'm not going to get him any like firearm stuff this year. And then it was funny though, but then my sister, who you wouldn't expect it, she shows up with the weaponry at the 3-year-old birthday party. It's a looks kind of like a Nerf gun, and it shoots like a ball that you'd like find in a ball pit.
Oh yeah.
And when you shoot it, it's got like, you know, a solid 4-foot range. And before it starts, you know, the trajectory and the stopping power significantly decreases.
Yeah.
But it makes laser noises, various laser noises when you pull the trigger, and it lights up a little bit. So at the end of the party, all the gifts, he's like super pumped about all of them. But then, you know what he was running around with the whole rest of the day?
That little ball pump Nerf gun.
Oh yeah, shooting everybody with it.
Hell yeah.
Saying, "Can I shoot you? Can I shoot you?
Always get permission."
Yeah, get permission before you shoot somebody.
Yep.
That's a good advice. And so yeah, we did our little 3-year-old cowboy birthday, and that was a blast. Lots of family. It was funny. He was sitting around with all my old college buddies, and
weird, dude. I don't know. My invite must have gotten lost in the mail, man. That's whack.
This is true. Because really, this is one of those parties. So here's why. My college buddies weren't invited to the party.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Their children
were invited. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's weird to all of a sudden be like, we're just like sitting around, and we were almost outnumbered at this point. We're like, right now we're sitting at an even. It was pretty even 1-to-1 ratio in the room. I do know that there was 3 pregnant women in the room at that moment. Some like had just found out and is still secret. Others like, you know, is obvious. Like my sister's 9 months pregnant. She should have a baby this week.
Yeah.
But so it's coming. We're about to be overrun. And it was fun to sit there and watch that and think, wow, what happened in the last, 5 years?
That's pretty awesome, dude. That is pretty awesome. You think you're going to shoot for more than 2?
Yeah.
You're like going to proactively go for more than 2?
Yeah.
What do you have an idea of like the number that you guys are like, okay, we're not going to proactively pursue it now? And then do you have like a number where you're like, okay, I'm getting
a hard stop.
I'm getting snipped so that way it doesn't happen anymore.
Get out the rubber bands that we use on the goats every spring.
Exactly.
Do you have an idea the whole things?
What those numbers are?
I do. This might not sit well with some people.
Sure.
And it might not play well.
Sure.
This day and age or in 10 years from now, I'm just going to say it. Here's how it's going to go. Either for us, it's going to be boy, boy, girl. We got 2 sons. So we can go boy, boy, girl. Or it's going to go, it could likely go boy, 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 Asian girl.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So I'm not Asian. My wife's not Asian. And it doesn't have to be Asian, but
yeah,
you know, adoption would be on the table. And my wife would really love to have a daughter. I would love to have a daughter. My wife would love 2 more than me. I think that's fine. It's like, you know, she that's how she would love to have a daughter. And I think that, like if we have 3 boys, she's not going to be upset, but she'll have to like she'll have to take like a second or 2 when like the ultrasound lady's like, see that right there? And
it's a pecker.
Yeah. We'll be like, she'll have to take a second to be like, all right, this is good. Which is totally okay.
So much.
And that child will be loved.
Crusty socks.
Yeah, I know exactly, dude. Dude, they're only 1-year-old and 3-year-old. and their room smells like a monkey cage already. I'm like, dude, middle school is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
And if we had a third boy into the mix, I mean, I'm going to have to straight up, one, I'm going to have to install a urinal somewhere. And two, we're just going to have like a fumigation, like clean curtain, like, you know, like when you walk into a clean room, like shakes you and vacuums you as you're on your way. We're going to have something like that with a delousing, you know, machine in between our house and their room that all three of them will share. And so, and we aren't like 100% that we would adopt someday, but we're open to the idea of that. And also, we wouldn't only adopt like selfishly to just have a daughter. I know what you mean. So, yeah.
Do you think though the number 4 is where you get your cords tied?
That's a pretty hard stop there, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. And there's nothing wrong with having more kids than that. But I have seen lots of my friends growing up who have had like 5+ in their family. I do see like it's cool to be from a big family. And this isn't always the case, and it's not absolutism, but I do think time is finite.
Yeah.
And the amount of individuals in your family is finite. And from a parental relational standpoint, that time starts to get divided. And so, you know, there's like, it's like someone's going to end up like FedEx from Cheaper by the Dozen. You know, I think the redheaded kid who's forgotten about, you know, and so you forget that one's even in your family, whatever. And so, there's parents who can handle that. I know I already, like, with only young kids, with 2 of them, have to make an effort to, like, keep up a relationship with them, as crazy as that might sound. Like, so, just even from my own capability, I couldn't see myself being a good dad to, you know, 5+ kids, you know.
Yeah.
If we get into the territory of having to have a Mormon van, like, first of all, I don't know if I could feed all those mouths, much less like raise them responsibly and have a relationship with them. But that being said, I could also see myself like in my 50s just becoming like having like a foster kid farm where they come and I send them out into like a dry lake bed to dig for treasure for me.
Yeah.
You know, no,
like holes.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So not like holes, but actually for real though, like in my 50s, like there's lots of like, I see lots of foster kids, you know, it's kind of like the, I don't know if you remember the movie,
4 Brothers.
No,
with Mark Wahlberg.
No, this movie it's with Little Bow Wow, Like Mike.
I do remember Like Mike vaguely, so vaguely, because wasn't that Michael Jackson?
It was Michael Jordan. He wanted to be like Michael Jordan in a basketball movie with a Little Bow Wow, but they're in an orphanage, and whenever the parents come to pick out the kids, you know, they all want the puppies. The ones that are,
no
you know,
one wants the dog.
Yeah, no one wants the.
Ironic that his name's Lil Bow Wow.
Yep. So you know, I really think for kids, like, I don't know the actual age, but I'd say like probably starting at like 10 and up, and then especially like 13, 14, middle school, high school age. Like, I think it could be really hard to find a place to fall into, or find a place that's going to take you on, because there's, you know, people are coming to something like this also in some cases with selfish motives isn't the right word, but they are coming because it's like, you know, we can't have kids, we want to have kids, we want to raise a family, and so you do, you know, it's like we want a baby or a young kid that we're going to raise. And so I could see myself later in life, after I have kids, like grown and out of the house, being like, all right, you are 13. You have a lot wrong with you because of the hand you were dealt, the decisions that were made for you. And now, you know, unfortunately, decisions you're making too are becoming an issue for your life.
Yeah.
And I'm not a 20-year-old dad. I'm 55 years old. I'm not a peepaw, but I have some wisdom. I have some financial means around me, and I want to give you a chance at life that you're not going to get otherwise. And so I could see that being something that's like, I have thought about that in my life, where it's like, if I was ever in a position, financially, relationally, and then like spiritually in my own life, to be able to do something like that for people, I could see that being something that that would be something I would go after.
Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution. I really think I could only see myself doing something in that vein if my wife died.
Yeah.
If Billie Jean died, I could see myself filling up time with that.
Yeah.
You know, but I have such a... Like, I knew some foster kids and stuff growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, I just have some really big hesitation to, like, the idea of, like, bringing them around my wife.
Yep, I
Like,
agree.
I'm not even really that comfortable with it when I meet some kids nowadays and them knowing who my wife is. Just because, like, some kids are fucked up, and because they're fucked up,
They're a liability.
Yeah,
and they're
they
hazardous.
And
And
what are you going to do? Hit a kid that's not your kid?
right. It's like,
I mean, like, good luck justifying that before the police and courts, even if you're like, well, I thought he was going to kill my
Mhm.
wife. I thought he was going
Right.
to kill me.
right.
And I just, like, I think of it all from a liability point. Granted, this is the view of not a father yet,
Mm.
right?
Right. And I think those are like, those are considerations to have. And that's part of my consideration to like being older
Mhm.
and set and having my kids either young adults or like leaving the house or getting out of the house. Like
Yeah.
Sorry, but I'm not going to bring somebody into my house who's a teenager who I think is potentially dangerous to like my very young kids who are like under the age of 7, you know?
Sure.
And so, and I think that's, you know, some people might hear that and be like, and be offended at that. But, you know, I have a responsibility to my children first in that sense.
Here's the thing. I feel like
You
if
know.
you're a foster kid, the only people who are offended at that aren't kids who have ever lived in an orphanage or been foster kids.
Right.
Like, foster kids know exactly what we're talking about. And I feel
Mhm.
comfortable saying that because I was friends with a good amount of foster kids growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Kids who, you know, spent a little bit of time in an orphanage before they started living with, you know, their aunt or uncle or grandparents or a different family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel really comfortable making it, you know, saying like a broad statement of like, the only people who are offended at us saying, I have a hesitation about bringing foster children into my home
Mm-hmm.
are people who've never been foster children.
Right. And it's not because we don't want them to find love, find care, find hope in Jesus, find a better way in life.
Yep.
It's just because, unfortunately, the system we have, unfortunately, lots of parents aren't parents, and their kids are put through abusive situations, traumatic situations, and then they get taken away, and then they end up in a system that is run. I'm not speaking about individuals who run this stuff. I'm speaking about the system as a whole.
Yeah.
A system that is broken as far as the numbers on kids who end up sexually abused by like other older foster kids, that sort of thing. Like, it's just those kids have, unfortunately, their innocence has been stolen and exposed to the world. And then when that happens, they're going to expose other kids to the world. in that same way that they know how. So that's just the way it is.
It's a sad thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry. I really do want to actually switch gears. Yeah. Not because I'm not uncomfortable with the topic, but because I feel like that's a good place for that topic. And before I forget, I really wanted to touch on, like, I know we talked about it in our Christmas episode, some of our favorite Christmas gifts ever. But man, dude, let's just go down the line, back and forth about some favorite toys we had as a kid that hopefully are popular enough that some of our listeners have some nostalgia for those things as well. And I'm going to try to make sure I don't pick any like niche toys, but I'm going to pick stuff that like I think I can recall as being like, oh, my friends wanted that. They thought it was pretty badass and pretty awesome. And I just figure this would be fun, because I'll be honest. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know what I am. I'm still a dinosaur guy at 28, bro. That's still what I ask for every Christmas. Yeah. and like if you're a man and you've grown, you're like, you know what, I've left toys behind and I don't want to play with toys no more. Hey, good for you, bro. But at my core, I'm still a dude who thinks toys are badass. I still see kids' toys and I'm like, that's bitching.
And like when you see how far they've come in some ways too, or like, if I go in a Cracker Barrel, I go to the back right. I go look at those things.
Yeah.
The Rubik's Cubes.
Yeah.
The puzzles. All that stuff. For sure.
You want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. First one that I really remember having a lot of just hours and hours of time spent outside enjoying. And I'm going to try to make sure nothing's a repeat of like stuff I mentioned in prior episodes, for Christmas or anything like that. So I'm not going to talk about the Red Ryder gun. I'm not going to talk about Xbox because I don't think video games are toys. But one that I really remember getting me outside a bunch.
Video games are life.
Well, they're not toys though. You know what I mean?
You're right.
They're like they're a endeavor that the youth do
to melt their brain
because they have so much time and because it's very engaging.
Yep.
And it's dynamic. But one that really comes to mind is like this cap gun that I had that was like a 1911 cap gun that was orange with yellow like palm grips on it. And it was transparent, like orange pinkish plastic, and you would take the roll-up caps rather than like the 8-cylinder caps, like the 8-shot cylinder caps. You take like this just paper roll-up and you put it in the cap gun, and as you shot, like the paper would
come out
the top and kind of break off itself. But I remember having 2 of them, and the mechanical device that would fire the caps inside was metal, so they had weight to them, and they felt like almost like recoil when you pulled the trigger, because every time it was a metallic hammer hitting a metallic faceplate, hitting the capsule that made the explosion. And I had that and a cap gun shotgun that took it took a string, not like the paper roll, but it took a single string of caps that were about
like the 8-shot roll, but in a string.
Yeah, but except for it was longer than 8. It was like usually like 2 dozen.
Yeah.
And you load it into the bottom, but it had the
pump action on it.
Well, it was pump action, but it had the trench gun action where if you just held the trigger down, you could just slam fire it. And it was so fun because I remember I had just watched Hard Boiled, and Hard Boiled is a Hong Kong action film. And most of the guys in it are either like they're doing shootouts with pistols and shotguns. And I just remember my buddy and we grabbed those cap guns and we invited other people to come over, other friends from the neighborhood, and we just ran around outside, just jumping and diving, dual wielding pistols, slam firing the shotgun.
You're dead. No, you're dead.
No, it wasn't that. We had just like an honor code.
Oh, really?
And we everyone realized it was more fun to pretend to dying and just ham it up and just get peppered and go down screaming bloody murder. And then you do that and everyone realizes you're being a good sport. Everyone's having fun. And then you do that to someone else and then, they ham it up. And so all that said, we had a really good kind of give and take philosophy amongst like our little group of 6 who would do the cap gun fights.
Yeah.
And dude, I just remember such good. I remember just being so skinned up afterwards too. You know, like just jumping into like the dry brush grass and just like pulling it off your clothes, pulling the burrs and the stuff off of your socks that were just stinging. But it was so much fun, dude. And we would spend tens of dollars on caps.
Oh, yeah.
And spend 12 hours outside just running around shooting each other.
I love that. We had some cap gun action as well, but my neighbors always had the good ones. What
do you mean by good ones?
Like
I feel like I just named the good ones.
Yeah, they had those ones. There's whatever it was, they just like, because they were older than me. One was like 3 years older, the other one was like 6 years older, and so they just each like they both had they just always had the better, whatever it was.
They had
held more ammo.
Yeah,
whatever the thing was. One thing I had was a backpack super soaker.
Oh wow! Like you filled the water up in the backpack like a camel pack.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you wear this backpack and it has 3 cylinders on it that all like show each level of water, which you can't see that because it's on your back. But then a hose comes around to the gun, and
like a flamethrower.
Yeah, very flamethrower-esque. And while everybody else is filling up their super soaker by unscrewing the cap, getting it under the hose, filling it up, it's slow going. This one had an attachment that you had an attachment to a hose, and you stuck the barrel on it. And when you stuck into this little attachment, you stuck the tip of the barrel into this attachment, it would fill the backpack straight up.
Whoa!
So it just,
and you had this?
Yeah, just fill up the 3 things, and you just go. And then they had like you could twist the nozzle to have a couple like you could do like thick blast or like stream blast, or really like you could do a lot of water, short range, or you could like crank it over a couple, and you could do a thin string, but you could shoot it pretty far.
I feel like this is revealing geographical differences between like a Texas kid growing up with his toys and a Colorado kid growing up with his. Because I have no idea what that super soaker. I have no frame of reference for what you just described like looks like. Like I can imagine it, but I don't remember that being a thing at all in Colorado. I don't remember a friend having that.
Right.
But that would make sense to like every kid would want that in Texas.
Yeah, it's like hot as heck in the summer. You run around getting stickers in your feet. You're
just
super soaking.
Cold water on your back.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you got just as wet as the operator of that. Because of all the different like plastic leaks and stuff, as like the people you were hitting.
Yeah.
But that's badass, dude. That's a super soaker I would have loved to have.
It was so sick. And the fact that it was refillable that way was such a game changer.
Yeah. So that's badass, dude. I do remember distinctly, like, I mean, this one's such an easy one. But dude, I remember having in the ballpark of over 1,000 Army men. Like actual, now I'm not talking action figures. I'm talking like little green Army men. Green, tan, and blue. Because I had the blue ones that came from like a police set.
Okay.
And I remember always following the same pattern of events. Something happens that the police get called, then the blue SWAT team guys come in, and then I have to escalate to the green guys. And once the green guys are in there, the tan, like it's revealed the tan guys are like also like the bad guys with like these military grade weapons or whatever, But dude, I spent so much time playing with Army men as a kid, just setting up massive events. And they always followed the same operation where once there was the big battle with like, I got everyone set up in these sides and I flicked over how many people died. It always broke down to a small group of green guys that survived the big fight. They have to get to the objective, complete the mission. And they just managed to take out so many tan guys. And it's always like maybe 2-3 green guys by the end. Most of the time it's just one though.
Yeah.
Like just one dude survives because I always followed the formula as a kid with the Army men of every Saturday night AMC or Sci-Fi Channel movie.
Yep.
And, like you said, like it was Godzilla or dinosaurs or giant bugs or whatever. The formula was always this dude makes it to the end. And I knew who he was. Like I had the one army man that like I had marked, you know, I'd cut the plastic off from around like in between his legs. And I like he was like the most like clearly carrying an M16 in an action pose.
Right.
You never let the guy live who was crouching firing a like top fed whatever that machine gun was that like had the magazine on the top and the bipod.
Yeah.
You never let that guy be the last one. Like you let him mow down people, but you never like, this crouching tiger guy is going to be at the end. Yeah. And you never let the flamethrower guy get that far along.
First man out, radio man.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Second.
If you don't even have a gun in hand, you died in the first scene of my battles. Always.
Second guy dead. Minesweeper.
Dude, the Minesweeper guy, I didn't even pull him out for like the Army Man battles. I would only use him. I would only use him when the dinosaur, like when I was doing like Jurassic Park,
and someone had to get eaten.
Yeah, because he was so straight that he could go down the throat hole of like some of the dinosaur toys I had, and I knew they could swallow him, but they couldn't swallow any other army men. And so he only came out when I wanted a dinosaur to eat a guy.
That's awesome. One of my favorite things to do with my army men was actually building the terrain. Like I didn't have a lot of terrain stuff other than like I used the big baby Legos to build the forts and stuff. Right.
And I had some cool Jurassic Park set stuff that I used, but otherwise like I just never had a lot of the Army Men sets that had like the barbed wire, the Jeeps,
right,
the anti-tank pillars. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I didn't have any of the like the store-bought stuff. I actually like crafted.
Oh, like you made it out of like cardboard?
Yeah, like make it out of cardboard and I at one point I did build like on a piece of cardboard like a whole map.
Yeah.
Like built a map and like then put like some 3D terrain stuff on it and march them through it. It was a blast.
That's pretty sick, dude. That's I never did that, but I did have I did do like the big Legos, and I did get Lincoln Logs specifically. I remember like I am requesting Lincoln Logs for Christmas this year. I'm gonna let my grandma know that that's what I really want, so that way her and my grandpa get it for me. And I only wanted Lincoln Logs so I could make buildings for the Army Men. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay, but I'm not gonna let your cardboard one count. You got to pick an actual toy. You can't pick sad poor kid toys of I couldn't afford a cap gun, so I just cut my own out of a paper plate.
Yep. No, the another one that I, as far as like time spent, like a lot in my room, dude. One of them was Connects.
Oh my gosh, dude! I loved Connects, dude.
Yeah,
because Connects were different than Legos. Connects had like a different feeling of durability.
Yep.
And I never made a gun out of Legos because I knew it was just going to fall apart.
Right.
But I made guns out of Connects all the time.
Like, you know, in the Connects would also come with like, it had a motor that you could build.
I didn't have that set.
So like I had this like, the cool thing was like a standalone motor that you could build into different, you could just apply it to stuff. So like one time I did build like a giant Ferris wheel. I was
going to say, wasn't that like the roller coaster theme park thing where like you could like make like a track?
This one, the one I had didn't have, I don't even think mine had like a specific theme. It was just like like a box full of just do what you want with them. And so the three things I remember building, I built a Ferris wheel that could spin. Star Wars, the first episode 1 had come out right at this time.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so you know how there was the new droids, like the new stormtroopers?
Yeah, dude, the droid Legos were bitching. Like the way they knew they were like, we have to have the droids fold up like the movie, and they did that.
Yep. So I like built very rudimentary. It was not that impressive, but I built my own like version of a Star Wars droid, and it had the motor in it. It could like move forward.
Damn, that's badass.
And then in my childhood home, my first house as a kid, my bedroom door was the hallway was a straight shot to the kitchen, and had to go like past the bedroom, through the dining room, into the kitchen. So I do remember I made a Connects like truck, but I with tires and everything, but I built like on the top, it had a fold out like tray so it could get bigger. So as it's coming, it's like when you send it out, it looks like Darth Vader's ship when it lands, you know,
Yeah,
with
I
the
get what you're
wings
saying,
folded up.
Yeah.
But then it could be folded out and stuff could be set on top of it. And so I like wrote a note on it. I remember, and this I had to have been like 7 because I moved from this house when I was 8. So I was like 7 or 8. I remember writing on a note like PB&J and milk, please, and like sent it down the hall. And then a couple minutes later, it came back down the hall with PB&J and milk.
Wow.
And I felt very accomplished.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. I do remember very specifically the 120 degree angle connects that were like white and they had 4 slots and then the hole in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember them because those are the best ones for making guns.
Yes.
like you didn't want your gun to have like the big old weird like snowflake shaped ones because you're like, guns don't really have that. But what I did realize I wanted those ones for is that I stopped making like a 2-dimensional pistol out of connects. So like where it's just like it's flat, you know, and it's just like 2 bars going up into like 2 corner pieces to like end pieces that connect. You know what I mean? And like it's flat. I ended up making a 3-dimensional one, and I used the round connects with the holes in it. If you remember, I think it had an 8 holes in the center, and I put through those holes the shorter neon green connect length pieces.
Oh yeah.
And I would pretend it was a revolver and shoot it, and then I'd pull that out and put it in my pocket and pull out a different one and put it in like
Reload
a revolver cylinder.
Mm.
And I just thought, I remember when that happened to me, I remember being in bed at my grandparents' house thinking like, I could make that. Yeah, that would work as a revolver. And then I remember like turning on the light and being quiet and going over and getting them out and trying to not make noise as I built it.
That's
Dude,
awesome.
connects are hella fun. They also, but when they broke, you're like, damn, might as well just throw this thing away.
Yep.
Because like when they broke, they were done.
Yep.
I think another big toy that I loved was this T-Rex from Jurassic Park that was one of the old school toys from, I want to say the mid-90s. And it was a very rubbery, flexible one that inside of it had like pillow stuffing and a couple of PVC pieces. And it had legs that were stuck in place, just like symmetrical. The legs were in different positions. And it was like a tan peach skin tone with brown stripes. And on its right side was this little weird, not perfectly circular piece that you could pull out, and it just showed its ribs and rib meat. And it was battle damaged juvenile T-Rex is what they kept on calling it. I never saw it in stores, but I had one and its arm popped off, and no matter what I did, I could not get the arm back inside. But then this neighbor of my uncle's knew I liked dinosaurs, and he said, hey, one day this dinosaur fell in my backyard and no one ever came to get it. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah. And he brought it out, and it was this same exact dinosaur, same exact T-Rex with, you know, it had its arms in place. It just had a paint stain on it. And the reason they were so sick is because it had this like jaw that had no, because they were really just rubber. You know, there was no articulation in the sense.
I remember the commercial for these.
It wasn't hard plastic.
Yeah.
It was just really flexible rubber. And you could grab that jaw and just open it as wide as you want, and it wouldn't rip, it wouldn't tear. And it just had such a good feel to the texture and quality of the toy. Same with its tail. Its tail was awesome. And I just remember that T-Rex ate so many people, dude. I can't put a number to how many times I had that T-Rex just eat people. And I always used its battle damaged ribs as a sign that it got hit with a rocket launcher. But yeah, that was probably my favorite dinosaur toy. I had a big T-Rex that a friend let me borrow, and I had it for like a year, and then I gave it back to him. But it was a Jurassic Park T-Rex that could swallow army men, and that was, no matter like how big the army man was, it always fit down its hole.
Nice.
And that was, you pulled it out of like its pooper, Like,
really?
it was like a slit between its legs, so it was kind of a vagina.
Yeah,
and you put your hand inside and pulled out whatever it swallowed. But that was a good one, man. I really liked that T-Rex because it was so fun to play with and just feed it things.
Mm-hmm. That's sick. Another one. I don't know if they sell these anymore.
Okay.
I don't know if it's legal.
Oh,
in this day and age.
Legal.
It's really not that exciting, but dude, sock and boppers.
Dude, sock and boppers were hella fun.
Yes.
And they were never like a real toy commercial. They were always like a QVC commercial.
Yep.
Always with the blue screen, call 1-800 whatever.
Uh-huh.
Shipping and handling.
And dude, I think toy commercials need a shout out.
Dude, that QVC commercial where I never had so much stress and anxiety as a kid as trying to write down that number. Because there was never enough time at the end of the commercial to write it down, and you couldn't pause the TV, and you just prayed to God the commercial would come on one more time so you can make sure you wrote it down. And like I just remember looking at it like, oh fuck, was it 1-800-394? 1-800-354? Oh God. And like you go to your mom and like you're like, I think this is the number, and your mom looks at you just like, this isn't even 10 digits.
Yep.
Like this can't be the number, honey. And you're like, please, Mom, can you call somebody? Can you call anybody to figure it out? And she's like, you just don't know how phones work at that point. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And the toy commercials that would come on, man, they just made you want it so bad.
Oh my gosh.
Beyblades,
so
let them rip.
Dude, Beyblades were bitching, dude. And then you got one and you're like, this thing sucks. It's so fragile. Yeah. This thing explodes and breaks apart at
and
like
then you
the
try to play
tap.
with like your buddy, and it's like all they do is hit each other and fall over, and you're like,
yeah. And then there's just like as you're doing it and like ripping them in that like cheap ass plastic dome.
Yep.
You just hear like the neighborhood like bird just going. You realize like this is so fucking boring. Let's just go burn ants with a magnifying glass.
Yeah, dude, Beyblades, but the commercials, dude.
Yeah,
you had to have one.
They were sick as hell.
My childhood friend actually auditioned to be in the Beyblades commercial.
That's awesome.
His mom would like take him to like auditions for stuff as a kid, and which like as a kid I like didn't even know that was a thing. Which obviously it's kids in commercials, but it's like he was like, yeah, I auditioned for that. And this was when I lived in Texas, so I was under 8 years old. You know,
were you like, did you get a Beyblade?
He was like, every time the commercial would come on, like the third kid would say his line, and he was like, that was supposed to be me.
That's awesome.
And so the growing up too, I was fortunate to have, here's what you need when you're growing up. If you don't have a family that's buying you all the toys, you need the only child friend who lives next door.
That's me.
Yeah. And like, and I had a couple, like growing up, I had a couple like only child friends whose parents were also like not hurting for cash. Like I had one buddy whose weekly allowance was a new Xbox game.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it was like,
that gets so boring so quick.
Well, the funny thing it was like,
as a kid, there's no way I beat an Xbox game every week.
And he got to the point where he didn't even care. At some point, somebody was like, I don't care. That's the one from last week. And I'm like, what? But
wow.
It was great. You just got to reap all the rewards and the benefits. Because they need someone to play with. They have no brothers and sisters. Yeah. You come over there and you play with them. And no, I did not use them for their toys. I was friends with them. Yeah. But I did get the benefit of, like before I had my GameCube, which, GameCube, for what it's worth, very quickly got beat out by the Xbox PlayStation world. Yeah. But up until then, Nintendo was the thing.
Yeah. Right. I remember my Nintendo 64 was a big deal. Hold on. Wait, we can't get too, these aren't toys, man.
I know.
These aren't toys.
I know. So we can keep going with toys because I have a couple. What's another one of yours?
Well, you didn't go back. I didn't go. You didn't list one.
Oh, you're right. I have a list over here that I wrote in third grader left hand, and actually I will mention the GameCube very briefly.
Not a toy.
I know it's a brief one though, which was for my birthday. I was like, I want a GameCube, and my parents were like, that's way too expensive. We're not getting that. They were like, they were like working for a nonprofit, like young parents, like they're like, it's not happening. But then my great grandpa, he sent me $200 whole dollars.
Whoa.
And I got myself a GameCube.
Did you even know your great grandpa's name at that point in life?
I just knew he was Big Paw, which I knew it. So I knew him. I had a person like he was super involved with our lives. But his first name's Emil, which isn't a name you.
Badass.
Yeah, it's an old man name.
Yeah.
But he was Big Paw, and Big Paw sent $200 whole dollars for us to go get a GameCube, dude.
How old were you?
8.
That's $1 million, dude. That's $1 million at that age.
Oh yeah, it was unthinkable, unimaginable.
Yeah,
to get that. Here's an old school one we got from a garage sale.
Uh-huh.
It's not a kaleidoscope, but it's like, and it's not binoculars, but it's like binoculars. They're red and white, and you stick a disc in the top.
Yeah, the 3D binoculars,
and it plays like a story.
Yeah, you click through and it's 3-dimensional.
Yep, and I had an old Scooby-Doo one, and I would just I would just lie on my bed and look at the light through it. And
I had a Scooby-Doo one too.
And it was the Scooby-Doo episode of the like Abominable Snowman skiing episode, for those of you out there who may have seen that one. But that one, surprisingly for how simple it was, I spent a lot of time staring at the ceiling, clicking through that thing.
Yeah, I would always bust that out too when I was bored and just go through it. But like, I remember I got really unsettled and kind of scared when I was looking through it at the blue and red, like old-timey movie dinosaurs. Because I had one that as you click through it, it was just like the, stop motion dinosaur models from old-timey movies fighting. Yeah. I don't know why, dude, but it kind of would like leave me spooked as I was looking through it, and it was so quiet. I think the feeling like you don't have a field of view out of it spooked me. All right, big shout out. I'm not trying to date myself here because I don't think I'm dating myself here. But dude, did you ever have like the build your own marbles racetrack? And like it was like all these different like red and yellow blue pieces that you connected and stacked up, and then you would drop all your marbles in at the same time. And as they're like spinning around and going down and taking different paths, you and your friends are like, oh, this one's gonna land, and like you're just holding out breath for like the one that gets to the final end. And like I remember doing it where like I'd pull pieces out so they were missing, so the marbles would have to like jump a gap or like fall a distance into the next one, and like marbles that would fall and hit and bounce out were like eliminated. And I remember my friend having a boombox. Like he was one of the only kids who still had like an actual portable, didn't need to be plugged in boombox that was powered off of like two
48D batteries.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember we would build the marble stuff in like a driveway and start rolling them, and he'd play music, and it was always it was the most bitchin' music at the time. Can you guess what it was? It was a soundtrack to a movie. It was the most bitchin', like hype kid music of all time. Where you're like, ah! You felt like you were in a movie and you're like pumping your fist. You felt like you're at the horse races.
Movie?
It was a soundtrack from a kid's movie. And dude, when I'm going to say it, you're going to be like, yeah, that's right. That is the most bitchin' kid movie soundtrack.
What was it?
Space Jam.
Yes. All right. That is.
It was so good, dude. It was so good. And it would always like, we'd throw that on and we'd play marbles for a little bit, and then we'd just have the Space Jam CD on while we're shooting hoops in the driveway.
That's awesome.
But dude, I loved that marble set, dude. It was so much fun. It was kind of depressingly boring just by yourself in your room.
Right.
Because you're like, I don't have anybody to make bets with.
Like root with, yeah.
It was hella fun.
I spent a lot of time on the Hot Wheels tracks.
The Hot Wheels tracks are cool, but I never had the tracks, man. I never like saw them and was like, I really want that over another dinosaur or another like action figure guy.
And like you would get like, Hot Wheels tracks are supposed to be like built like how they look on the box. And sometimes we'd build the whole thing out that way. But I had a plethora of Hot Wheels tracks, so I could, make what I wanted. And they'd come out. It was pretty new at the time, was the 2 foam wheels that spin to shoot your car, so that it
shoot it faster and keep it looping around until they crash.
Yeah, and technically, if you build it right, it can go permanently
until cars crash.
Until they crash into each other
on the figure 8.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I had a bunk bed And so I would build it like starting at the top of a bunk bed coming down, and I have to like stack up some like boxes or something to like support it in the middle. I remember doing a couple intricate Hot Wheels designs on the Hot Wheels track.
Bro, did you ever play the Hot Wheels computer game?
No.
It wasn't a real game, bro. It was just pre-rendered like Hot Wheels cutscenes of the perspective. Like the point of view was of the Hot Wheels car going through the track and like going over the dog and like going over cups full of water, and it was all like pre-rendered. You don't do anything, you just press play and it just runs through it, and you're like looking at the computer, you're like whoa, and like you're just looking at it with friends, but like you're not doing anything.
Really?
Like there's nothing you have to do. It's just its own pre-rendered animation at like 12 frames a second. Like it was so funny. I remember playing that all the time with like friends, just like letting it run so we could watch it. I want to ask you before I list my next one. You big G.I. Joe guy or action figure guy? Like, did you ever have action figure military guys with guns?
I had a couple.
Just a couple?
Yeah.
Dude, I had drawers full of them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, dude, drawers full of them, and I had a drawer just full of their guns and all their equipment, and like I knew which grenades fit in which hands and which guns went with which guys. And I even had guys that I had like used fireworks on to be like the burned like guys that got hit with bombs and like airdrop stuff.
Yeah, so you were Sid.
No, dude, I didn't blow up my toys. I just altered them for like thematic purposes.
That's exactly what
dude.
Sid
But I
would say.
remember my uncles having like a Jesus Christ moment, like because like they came over to my grandparents' house and I was like in the driveway playing, like, hey, what you doing, man? And I was like, this guy looks like he's in the jungle, and I was watching this movie the other day where like this like bomb blew up in the jungle and lit these guys on fire and they were really burned. And I was like, so I just figured I needed one of those guys. And they looked down and I had like these Vietnam G.I. Joe guys.
Yeah.
And I was just burning them.
Oh my god.
So they would look like they were
Like
burnt with
victims.
napalm. Yeah. And I just remember my uncle's like, holy shit. Like, we gotta watch what this kid's watching.
Do you also want to see the baby doll that I stuck its head on an erector set to turn
didn't
into
have a baby doll.
Turn into a tarantula?
I had no use for a baby doll. But anyways, I had a G.I. Joe boat at one point. Like it was the battleship that like you could put all your Joes on, and it was pretty like cheap plastic, honestly. But it was big, it was huge, and it was one of the things that you busted out, and like when you busted out, your other homies were like, "Oh damn, that's the G.I. Joe boat.
That's sick.
That's the G.I. Joe battleship." And you're like, "Yeah, I can like you can put the jet on it, and the jet could like technically like launch off." I had a lot of action figure guys.
Figures.
Yeah, I had like a riverboat one that I always used to recreate Apocalypse Now. Because I watched that movie too much as a kid. Yeah. Like I didn't understand at all what that
movie.
I had no idea like what that movie was supposed to be about. I just remember like this is a riverboat movie, and like these guys deal with people throwing spears at them in Vietnam, going up a river and stuff, whatever. And I just remember using this like inflated riverboat G.I. Joe model that had like a gun on the top, and it had a deck on the back, and it it was all this cool stuff. You could fit like 6, maybe 8 G.I. Joe guys on it and in it, and just like slowly whittling them off one by one as they go up the river. Yeah. And like I always remember doing that, and like people just being like, not people I guess, but like adults just being like, yeah, have you seen a movie called Apocalypse Now? And me just being like, I don't know, I watch whatever's on AMC. Like whatever's I'll just put on the TV and I'll just watch it, and then I'll just like recreate it with my toys.
That's funny. Gosh. Not a kid movie. I have one true G.I. Joe, and it's a Tuskegee Airman.
I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot of real G.I. Joes. I had like the Walmart knockoff,
like action figure stuff, army guys.
The one that's like get 3 guys in one pack, and here's all the guns.
Yeah. So I do have to this day I do still have an authentic Tuskegee Airman G.I. Joe with his stuff, which is kind of a cool one.
That is badass.
And I think it was cool too because like my dad taught me about like some of the history behind the Tuskegee Airmen and stuff. And so
Is that your foot?
it's my shin.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
I just got to stretch my legs out.
Stretch out for a second. And so that's the only true G.I. Joe I had. But then action figure wise, I did have a lot of Star Wars action figures.
I had a good amount. The only thing was, and I want you to tell me right now before I say it, I guess. Oh, by the way, great shirt. Judah in the line.
Uh-huh.
Dude, take it all back, man.
This is old Judah.
Yeah.
Old.
What was the one part on the Star Wars action figures that always broke and made them essentially useless?
The lightsaber, because I chew on it.
The lightsaber broke a lot because it was a thin piece.
Yeah.
But of the figures themselves, what broke? It would bend and stretch, and then you wouldn't be able to use it anymore because it'd like crumple off because the plastic they were made out of was different.
Like their robes or their capes and stuff. I don't know.
The hands, bro. Think about it. Think about like, did you have any of the clone troopers?
Nope. All my stuff was like 4, 5, 6.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
gotcha. I get what you're saying, dude. So I had a lot of the prequel 1 through 3 ones because I just wanted. I would see pictures on Google of people, sad grown adults that just only collect that stuff. I guess it's not sad. I collect dinosaur models. Who the fuck am I kidding? But I see pictures of people just like, dozens and dozens of clone troopers, and they'd have them posed and staged. I was like, dude, I want that so bad. And the issue with the clone trooper toys that came out, they had a trigger finger to fit in the trigger well of the blaster toy. And that trigger finger very easily would bend, and then just like, it was such a cheap plastic that it wouldn't even tear off, as it just like would bend. And if you tried to push it back, it would just fall off. And so would like the 3 fingers would bend off. And so you just wouldn't be able to use the toy because it couldn't hold anything.
Yeah.
And I remember my grandfather was like, well, do you really need to take the guns out of their hands? And I was like, no. And he's like, let's just glue the guns in their hands so that way they can't break off anymore. But then I noticed their fucking hands come out of the forearm. Like you could pull their hands out of the forearm, and that little piece that goes into the forearm would bend and break. And I was like, these are fucking trash, dude. I stopped asking for them at like, probably 10 or whatever, because I was like, they just keep breaking, dude, and I can't play with them.
Yeah.
And, a lot of Star Wars nerds out there are screaming, you're not supposed to play with them.
Yeah.
You're supposed to keep them on a shelf in a box forever.
Not the case.
Yeah. I remember not crying, but just being so frustrated that I threw my General Grievous one, because all the lightsabers broke and all of his hands broke. And I was like, what the fuck is the point of this toy? Like, I just remember like actually cussing under my
crisis.
Yeah, no, I just remember cussing under my breath, like 100%. I just like, 11-year-old Mick, just like, what the fuck is the point of this toy? Just like, it just like just having like that moment where you're staring at it and like you seem like an adult would be like, oh, what's he thinking about? He seems bummed, and then just like twisting and whipping it at the wall, just like piece of shit, like, just being so. I didn't even spend my money, but it was just like, why would I ask my grandparents for this if it's just gonna bust as soon as I try to like recreate a cool scene with it?
Just gonna ruin my hopes and dreams.
Sorry, that was a long tangent. Star Wars toys, bitchin'. G.I. Joes, bitchin'. Everyone I hope is like, every boy I hope out there is like, fuck yeah, dude. I remember my G.I. Joes. I remember my Star Wars guys.
Oh yeah, and dude, I live in a neighborhood full of kids.
Yeah,
full of kids.
Yeah,
I see them coming in on the minivans, pulling into the garage.
Please tell me these kids play. Please tell me they're playing outside. Please tell me they're getting together and bringing their toys and showing their toys to each other.
The garage door closes.
Oh,
they disapparate. They disapparate until the next morning.
That's not a word.
I know, but until the next morning when the garage door opens and they're in the minivan or their Tesla, headed off, and then they return after school.
That's so sad.
Into the garage.
So sad.
And I have seen there's been a kid or two, like playing like some hockey in the street, which has been good. But for the amount of kids that are in my neighborhood, There is nothing happening, dude.
No fraternization.
There's nothing.
Fraternization.
Nothing, dude. And so
that's so sad, dude.
I know, and like the main thing about all these toys was like it was on the creative side. It was awesome, like sit in my room and build these things and come up with stuff and imagine a story and play it out, just like you've been talking about. But also with our toys too, like we played with them with the kids on the street. We'd go out, you go outside, whatever, and engage them. And I just honestly think it's not happening.
It's not. You want to know a super sad statistic? So for those who are listening, we're recording right now. Get hyped, folk. Ken, get hyped. We're recording our series, our first series at the Mick Pat Show, outside of Brews and Reviews, for fatherhood, and you know what it was like with the father you had, and how that's impacted the way you're a father now. And I've been reading a lot about, you know, fatherless homes, fatherless kids, all that stuff. In America, on average, a child has a one-on-one conversation with their father for 30 minutes a week. That's the average amount of time a child spends having a one-on-one conversation with their dad, is 30 minutes every 7 days. Guess how much time they spend watching TV and playing video games? And on the internet. They include phone time.
Yeah, in a day.
Not a day, a week.
In
so
a
like
week.
30 minutes a week talking to dad one-on-one.
I'd say it's 6 hours a day. Like between, I'd say it's between,
You're
between 4 and 6 hours a day.
A little over. The average is 44 hours a week.
All right. They could have a job.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like at
it
that,
is
at
their
that
job
rate,
at
at that
that
rate
point,
of time.
right? Like the amount of time they're spending on that, it's almost like as a parent, you're making them do that. And it's sad.
Yeah.
That crushes me, dude. One thing I want to ask you is if you had this experience, because I remember this being some of like the most pivotal independent experiences I had as a kid. Do you remember when there was new kids, or you were at a family member's place? I don't know. Did you go to your grandparents often, or often enough to meet the other kids in the neighborhood?
No, because they lived in like, they didn't have neighbors. They did, like, they lived, lots of them lived on like a property, you know, type of thing. So like,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did like my cousin's house growing up. So like my cousin's house growing up, though, we would do like cousin nights, like depending on the like life rhythm, like at least once a month, like growing up. And so like I have friends to this day who are adults. Like I just talked to one on the phone this week, because who I met, like who was my cousin's friend, and like we're still friends to this day. And we played airsoft for hours. There's a whole handful of people like that. So yeah, you know, certain places where I spent a lot of time away, I did make friends at other places.
So my grandparents, in my like elementary school years, lived in like a very suburbia neighborhood that was not mostly grandparents, you know, empty nesters. Most of everyone else that lived there had their own kids. And those kids would spend every weekday hanging out after school playing in the cul-de-sac. My grandparents were like the center house at the end of the cul-de-sac. So a very focal point where I could very much see all the other kids in the neighborhood spending time.
Bikes, skateboards, hockey sticks.
But I was only at my grandparents on the weekends. And on the weekends, a lot of the other kids weren't at home. They're out doing stuff. But occasionally, I'd see the neighborhood kids congregating to play something. And I remember that being some of the most impactful early development, you know, elementary school. Like, these aren't just like your kids that you see every day at school,
right?
Like your friends that you see every day at school. Like, these are just kids you have no idea what they do, what they about. They're in a totally different neighborhood. They don't go to the same school as you. And you're just like, I wonder if they're interested in the same things I am. And like, I kind of want to play with them because they look like they're having fun on a cool Saturday morning, afternoon. And my grandparents are like doing their weekend chores or whatever. And I remember like standing in my grandpa's garage in the cul-de-sac, like I'm going to go walk up to those kids and ask if I can play.
Muster up the courage.
Yeah. And like, I remember there's not only is like the courage of like, hey, I'm going to go talk to those kids and like see if I can play with them. But there is the, like, you start playing with them and then like you're playing and they're like talking about stuff and you're like, hey guys, I'll be right back. And you run to your house to grab something. And I remember running to my house to grab my toy guns. And like, because we were playing soldiers and we were just using sticks. I was like, why were we using sticks? And I remember so many of these kids, like their parents didn't let them have toy guns. Oh, yeah. I came out just like kitted up. I pulled everything out of the trunk. I was like, here, grab these. And they were like the guns were like the toy guns where you pull the actual like cocking mechanism and it goes rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. And I remember like these kids were like, whoa. And they like would look around for their parents and like, all right, yeah. And like we were playing soldiers. I remember like their parents being mad. They're like, who gave you that? And they're like, it's Mick's. And I was just like, yes. And they're like, oh, my kid doesn't play with guns. And like getting it like not in trouble, but feeling like bad, like feeling I'm in trouble. And it was so much fun though. Like when you would bring out your toys and like other kids would bring out theirs and like you start like fostering that connection as a kid, you know? Those are some of my favorite memories for childhood, like taking that step of, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask those kids if I can play with them. And it was only like when my grandparents weren't doing stuff. Because if my grandpa was in the garage doing something, working on his tool bench, I was just like, I was always in the garage with him, you know, as a kid, like just watching him. And like I would squish army men in the vise and like watch them form back. I did that so much. I spent so much time as a kid just squishing them down and like watching them reform.
Oh yeah, man. And I think that also sometimes you muster up the courage to go over there and you get shot down. And sometimes you muster up the courage to go over there and next thing you know, 10 hours went by because you were just playing kick the can or whatever little thing you'd come up with. And all of that is a part of important development.
It is. And
as a human.
I feel like kids aren't getting that nowadays as much, you know? I feel like some kids aren't getting that until they get to like high school.
And like play dates are great. Schedule them, take your kids places and stuff. But that's not like, and sometimes a kid will ask, hey, I want to go play with Johnny. But at the same time, like, you know, there's a missing element where it's like, you know, all right, we're going over to such and such's house and we're going to like play or whatever versus like a kid's like full blown initiation of like, I'm going out there with my toys to play with these kids, you know, of my own full volition and decision making and risking and the whole thing. And I think that, I have a hard time. I think about this because I'm like, I live in a suburban neighborhood and there's tons of kids everywhere, but nobody's really out playing with their friends or making friends that I can see. And at the same time, I'm like, so I see that and I'm like, I also want to like, I want my kids to live on like 5 to 10 acres where they can like run around and get dirty and go explore and, you know, drive a little, you know, whatever, go-kart and all these things. But then that'll remove them from the ability, it can remove them from the ability to like go next door and knock on the door and say, hey, can Johnny play? You know? And so part of me is like, well, it's not happening anyways. So what's like the best solution for like fostering growth in my kids? Because I think like providing a space for them to grow is important. And a neighborhood can and should be a place for that. But I'm not seeing it, you know? And where we live too, like we've got like tons of neighborhood parks and all these things. And there are kids who go out and play. But it's just not on that same level. Like you should see kids who are at the mere age of like 8 years old coming by on their bicycle, like by themselves in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that should be fine with like a group of kids, you know, or whatever. So as a parent, I kind of trying to navigate like, all right, how do I create an environment where my kids can adventure and grow and connect with people and all that stuff. And so it's a weird line to walk. And then also is interesting just to be like, how do you, it's like, makes you want to start a commune. Like, all right, like-minded people who like want this for their kids.
Yeah.
We're all moving to this spot. We're all going to live on this block, and we're going to do life together this way. But that's a lot easier said than done.
That's one of my dreams is just having all my friends in the same like vicinity so our kids can play together. Is just like that was such an important part of my childhood. But I feel like this episode is a good amount of nostalgia, just going over to those childhood memories, those toys that bring back fondness. And to our kin out there listening, we'd love to hear back from you on, what were your favorite toys as a kid playing with, and, some of those memories of that, taking a step of courage to make friends, putting yourself out there. And, hopefully you kind of have the same mindset that we do, that it's important for your kids to experience that. So with that, we appreciate you guys listening in. We appreciate you taking the time to reminisce with us. And anything that you got to add, Pat?
No, you said it.
Awesome. Well, until next time, Ken.
Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.